Welcome to the show. This show is going to be dedicated to out-of-control teens and kids. But we'll give you the very latest on the coronavirus a bit later in this broadcast. But first, I want to really get started with this topic. You know, a lot of talk shows really grasp on this subject. The reasons why they do it is that statistics show, to talk about like teen pregnancy, teen violence, girl-on-girl teen violence, it's now an FBI statistic. You got teens doing underage drinking, you got underage drugs, underage smoking. And let's move on to the kids first. The out-of-control kids, what they do is they don't listen to their parents. And out-of-control teens, they'll do anything they can to get a baby. Well, we'll get to that. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to do the show for really one reason, to help out families who are in desperate need of wanting to help out their out-of-control kids and their teens. The kids first, because if you don't control your kids, they're not going to be channeling their energies a lot. What I would recommend happen is that, you know, like we do some talks with our kids about what's right and what's wrong, and talk about discipline. I'm going to start telling you right now that discipline does not mean abuse. It's basically telling children like what's right and wrong here. Let's go with the kids. Many years ago, Maury did a show about out-of-control kids where they were drinking, smoking, and cussing at their mothers. If you were to watch those clips of those kids, you basically saying to yourself, I basically say to myself, thank God it's not my cousins who are acting this way, and if it was, they make me want to vomit. And this is going to be a great topic for this show because I want to help out parents. And lots of these talk shows, they take them to boot camp and they take them to prison. With the boot camp thing, there's no problem with the boot camp. There's a problem. The boot camp is going to help them out. The juvenile correctional centers, jail, that works. You know what's going to happen if you do this and that? You're going to go to jail. Now the boot camp is going to work for the kids, to teach them to respect their elders. And one of the clips of the Maury show that I watched was kids wearing makeup. They're too young to be wearing lipstick in the morning. Like, you're too young to get up in the morning and wear lipstick. And 8-year-olds think they're 25. Look, I'm 23. This is what 23 looks like. And kids talking to their parents like slaves. That's not gonna work. Talking to kids saying, F you, mom. Be quiet, you stupid bee. I shouldn't be smirking, but this is really serious here. Something has to be done, and if we can't deal with this between we can't know this next year. The kids are going to go out of control and start thinking that the world can revolve around kids. But things will change. And even talk shows are doing the same segments, like, sometimes. You know, more focuses on paternity and cheating, but sometimes they'll move to updates and even abusive husbands. The abusive husbands, that's another show. But going back to the kids here, the kids, there's nothing the parents can do. They just let them get away with it. I mean, the parents are right. They're too young to be waking up in the morning and wearing lipstick. They can wear whatever they want. They can dress however they want. Unless you're under 8 years old, home alone, like what can you do as a parent to make sure you're, seriously though, you can't be letting your kids talk to you, kids talk to you like that. They're too young. But what's a parent to do? How can you make sure that your kids are under control? When we come back, we'll tell you some tips on how to get your kids under control so that they don't go down the path as a teenager. Stay with us. Welcome back. For those who are just joining us, we're talking about out of control kids and teens and what path they can go down to if they start continuing to act out of control. Now for parents, how can I, like you parents may be asking, how can I make sure I can control my kids? How can I control my kids if they're out of control? Well, we're going to give you some tips right now. Establish some rules and structure. Rules, kids like rules and limits. Kids feel safe. Still get your kids listening, these strategies can help. Just make household rules clear. Just make a list. Focus on basic rules like kind words, ask before borrowing items. Rules can be more easily enforced than when they're written down and discussed as a family. Also, you gotta create structure, more structure in your child's day. Create time for homework, chores, dinner, family activities, and play. Try to stick to the schedule as much as possible on weekdays. Next, assign chores. If it's for your 4 or 14-year-olds, it's important to assign regular age-appropriate chores. Get your children to use to pitching in so that they can practice being responsible for members of the family. We're not going to get into the chore thing. Just use positive language. Focus on what the kids can do rather than what you can't. Like saying, so instead of saying no TV until you clean your room, just say you can watch TV as soon as your room is clean. That can get your child a little bit of control. Give effective instructions. Just be firm and direct. And only give one instruction at a time. Calm voice and make sure you have your child's attention before you speak. Next, provide consequences for misbehavior. Now, for those parents who are going to comment, now for those who comment on here saying, I spank my child, I hate it. Experts say if you spank your child, you're teaching the child that it is okay to hit. When you hit your child like this, that you're teaching them it's okay to hit. You're teaching them that it's basically okay to solve problems by hitting. That's not okay to hit. When they start going to school and they start fighting, you know who's going to get blamed here? The parents. And you're basically like, well, I'm at the end rope here. What else can I do? What kind of punishment can I give? Well, there's the timeout. It works. Sit them down the corner for 1 minute per age. If these two 2 minutes. 3 years old, 3 minutes. 4 minutes, 5 minutes. 4 years old, 4 minutes. 5 years old, 5 minutes. 6 years old. The list goes on. Next. Lose lots of privileges. It could be electronics, a favorite toy, or an activity, but don't take those privileges away for too long. Your child may give up or may act worse if you take away too many privileges or remove them for days or weeks at a time. Restitution. If your child's behavior affects someone else, restitution may be in order. You sound into a chore for someone that hurt or loaned their favorite toy to the victim. Like saying you damaged someone's property, you have to pay them back. How? By doing chores. Logical consequences. Give your child an opportunity to take responsibility for their behavior. Recover the roles, they can wash it off. If they break something, they can pay to fix it. Reward good behavior, give incentives, and offer praise. If this don't work, just seek professional help. If your discipline strategies aren't working, you need to seek professional help. Start talking to your child's pediatrician about your concerns. And there's one rule that all parents must follow. You don't reward bad behavior. Take the case of the 12-year-old who was on Dr. Phil. He played Fortnite. He's addicted to video games. He locks his parents out in the freezing cold and holds up a sign that says, "I will open the door if you give me Starbucks." You gotta do what I recommend. The tip is you do what's called Commando Parenting. We have to go back to basics. Now, Dr. Phil's an expert in child protective services. You are to provide your child, like I've always said this on this show, Dr. Phil's always said it on his show. You are to provide your child you are to provide him a warm, stable, dry food, academics, a room with a bed, a blanket, and a pillow would be nice. This doesn't require posters on the wall, television, video games, computers. Those are all privileges. And if your child wants those things, you have to earn them a step at a time. And you may be saying, like, the tips in Dr. Phil's, I'm confused. What tips do I follow? Well, I recommend Dr. Phil's side. When you choose behavior, you choose the consequences. If your child decides to play hardball, then he chooses the consequences of getting his privileges taken away. So that is the kids side of this. And if you want more additional tips, we will find them. We'll find more tips in the description below, as well as on our Give Me a Break website, which is jcarmy67.wixsite.com. W-I-X, not W-I-C-K. Wixsite.com/givemeabreak for all the parenting tips. And you also find an interactive guide, and you also find an excerpt to Dr. Phil's book Commando Parenting that talks about. You also find an excerpt from Dr. Phil's book called Family First, which talks about Commando Parenting. And trust me, it helps out. It helped out a lot of Dr. Phil's guests, and it will certainly help you out throughout this show. Alright, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to focus in on out-of-control teens. Ooh boy, this is the one you've all been waiting for. And oh boy, this is the one you've been waiting for. We're going to tell you about the teen behaviors, why talk shows are fascinated by this subject, and what's the future for teens if they continue to be out of control. Stay with us. Welcome back. For those who stayed with us, this entire show is going to be dedicated to out of control kids and teens. So far we're focused in on the kids. Now we're focusing in on the teens. And this is one that I have been waiting to share. It's a topic that all talk shows are dealing with. Dr. Phil, Maury, Steve Wilkos, Oprah. Well, I don't think Oprah. The Sally Jesse Raphael show. Now, in those talk shows, they send their kids to boot camp, and Dr. Phil's like, send them to the ranch. It really helps. The boot camp thing, well, it works. In my opinion, I think it works. It really changes. But finding out what the future is going to be like for the teens, now that is going to be a challenge. That is easy. If your teens continue to go down the road of destruction, they will be going to the they'll be going to jail or juvenile hall. That's a great place for the teens. Or the correctional centers. I mean, the reason why it's a great topic for all talk shows is because I think it's a really good, important wake-up call for all the teens. And possibly for yours truly. Now, look out for the behaviors of these teen behaviors. You've got the stealing. You've got physically abusive to others and destructive in the house. You've got being verbally abusive, imitating and threatening, abusing younger sibling, becoming home drunk or high, which that is underage drinking and smoking. We'll get to that in a little bit. Staying out all night, getting arrested. Stealing. Let's go to the stealing first. The stealing is really a big issue. Like, people are too young to get arrested at 13. Like, if you watched an episode of the Steve Wilkos show on Nosy, which I'll provide a link in the description, this kid named Brandon does all these things. He steals, he abuses, he does ecstasy, acid, and mushroom. He ran away from home. He threatened to kill his dad. All kinds of things. And that's really a big issue for all talk shows. Now, the abusive, that's where we go. Verbally abusive, that's profanity and stuff. Abusive, like hitting, punching family members, sisters, brothers, sisters and brothers, cousins, whatever. Abusing younger sibling, like the brothers and sisters. Coming home drunk or high. Now this is very important here, and it's a regular call for our parents. I don't have an actual estimate that I haven't done before the special, but I will give it an update on Friday. There's teens out there who are drinking and smoking under the age of 21. Not only it's legal, it's a problem. The age to drink is 21, and yet teens out there have these 21 under IDs. There's not a problem with that in the state of Texas. Those need to be banned for... If you're going to have a 21 ID, you have to be 21. You cannot get an under 21 ID. If that's going to help, I mean, that's not going to help you with your driver's license and stuff. And even getting arrested, staying out all night. The biggest thing you can do is set curfews. We'll get to that in a little bit. Getting arrested. Now this is a big problem here. Juveniles. It's a really, really big issue here. Teens are skipping school, staying out all night, staying up all night. They do whatever they want and have no possible consequence for their actions. Now when we come back here, what can you do? Okay, we're gonna take a break. What can you do if what can you do with an unruly teenager? We'll give you the answers next. We've been talking about underage kids and teens and helping out in situations if the parents are losing their ground here. That's what I'm going to help you get back on your feet here. Now, what's the best that you can do to handling difficult teenagers? First, you should avoid giving away your power. Next, establish some clear boundaries and rules. Also, stricten curfew for your teens. Listen, to the teens out there, there's people out there that do drugs, and they want to do drugs with you. There's people out there that want to have their way with you. There's guys out there that want to make you get in your car and not take you home. Here is safe, out there is not. And in this times of crisis during COVID, again, here is safe, out there's not. We have to protect everyone. And during these times of crisis, during this COVID time, parents, you need to start worrying about your kids. Because if you don't do something about this, the bridge will start to break. And when that bridge breaks, your teens and your kids will go out of control. And if there's nothing that you can do, this guide, if there's nothing you can do, just turn to this guide and just go to the talk shows. They'll help you out. They got experts out there who's going to help. And no one can understand this. Dealing with a group of difficult teens, focus on a leader amount situation, obtaining humor and showing empathy. Just give them a chance to help solve problems when appropriate. If your teen's a minor, according to the law, you cannot toss them out. In many instances, kicking them out could be classified as abandonment. Unless your teen has anticipated, you are still legally accountable for his welfare. But there are ways to handle this, and we're not going to have enough time to do this because this is a half hour. But before we go, let's bring you the very latest on the COVID-19 situation. As of now, this vaccine, I really think it's going to help. Just today, this Pfizer vaccine is going to be helping out 2 people. But will it work? On Give Me a Break Friday, we'll bring you the very latest on this vaccine. Is it going to work? Is it going to help? And what should you do if you get this vaccine? And what are the side effects? That's a Give Me a Break Friday, along with the new segment called Conspiracy Friday. An expert who believes about what the CIA is doing, what the CIA did many years ago. That's all coming up on Friday. And that's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Wednesday going to Thursday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. Have a good night, everyone. Follow us here on YouTube. I'll see you Friday.